What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Pitts from Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, representing Bowie TV. We are here again as our weekly conversations with Coach Bernard Clark Jr., head coach, Robert Morris University, through the eye of the Tiger. What's going on, Coach? How you doing this morning?
Doing great, Pitch, man. Everything's going well. Good week of practice, man. That wow is working, man. Diligence. These guys have been diligent in what they're doing. So diligence, careful and precise, work and effort. They've worked hard this week. So let's see if it adds up to a win.
Can you give us some specifics of detail, when it's attention to detail of where you see the difference in your team from maybe a practice in this week, or last week, or a couple of weeks to now?
Probably the biggest thing is like when we watch the running backs and the running backs' footwork. And coach has been working with them all week long about making sure the footwork where it's supposed to be at, making sure the patience is where it needs to be when the O-line is opening up a hole for them. And so those are the things you look at. When you look at small things like that, and now the guys are looking at their footwork, and now they're realizing I can't hit the hole too quick. Let's wait for the offensive lineman to get where he needs to be. Let's wait for the tight end to get where he needs to be. And I'm right behind him. The holes are opening up a little bit better because they're having that patience. So that's probably the biggest thing that stood out to me this weekend when we talk about diligence.
When, of course, our keys to the game last week was, to minimize penalties, make sound tackles. Would those be your keys to the game this week as well, or would it be more of, like you said, not only just diligence but patience, allowing the game to set? Don't rush anything, don't force it.
I think this week, Coach, the thing we need to do is start fast. We've got to have a quick start. We've been having a slow start, and it's been hurting us. We've been getting behind on points, and we haven't had a quick start since our 2 victories. So I think if we have that quick start, which is the thing that needs to be important, let's go and start fast. Let's make sure we're physical, and let's make sure we're finishing everything that we're doing. So those are the keys this week.
When we talked last on Tuesday, we also discussed how, when it pertained to the penalties in regards, or not only penalties, but the scout team challenging the first team or the second team. Have you seen an uptick, or have you seen a difference in the way your scout team has prepared or is preparing your first teams?
It's interesting you say that. One of our defensive ends, he's a young guy. He's a redshirt freshman. He's one of our scout team guys. And I went out and watched him specifically this week, and it's a situation where he's getting off the ball. He's getting after the O-lineman. He's making them work. So I'm like, keep it going. You're making them work, which is making you get better. Continue to get better. You continue to make them work. So just watching him this week, I saw he got after those guys, and those guys got some work put on them this week. So hopefully to get them prepared for the game.
Is there a difference in response when the first team is going against a scout team and maybe a scout team is getting the best of them? Have you seen a situation to where it may be an emotional reaction from that first team rep player?
It's funny you say that because that's the thing that jumped out this week too. It wasn't an emotional reaction because normally when a scout team guy getting out the first team guy, the first thing he said, man, calm down, bro, you scout team. But it wasn't like that this week. This week he prepared himself. He got back. Now he went back at him on the field. He didn't want to go back at him in a confrontational way, wanting to get into a fight. He went back at him on the field, jacking him up, making sure he pressed him off the line, did what he was supposed to do against that player as opposed to get into a fight and get into an altercation with him.
How motivational is that for not only for the rest of the scout team players, but also the first team in regards to preparation?
It's very motivational because now you understand you're preparing in the right way. It's not just enough to prepare and train, but you got to do it properly. I know a lot of people should say practice makes perfect, but you and I know it's perfect practice that makes perfect. So you want to make sure you're practicing in the right way to get the guys prepared. So it definitely helps us as a team when they do those things.
When we talk about starting fast, one of the keys to the game is starting fast, because like last week, the team jumped out to a 28-point lead at half. They only scored 3 points in the second half, which is, understanding the intention of starting fast. For the offensive, would it be key to start fast by maybe do hurry up or, fast tempo offense to get the offense into a more, unprecedented groove, because it's not like your team to do a fast tempo, or
Right.
not as much. But to get the offense going, like, don't have time to set back, don't have too much time to think. It's more of a react. We start fast, we go, come back, we get set, we start fast, we go. Is that something that can be, or is that something that you guys may look forward to this week?
We have we have the ability to do that, but to be totally honest with you, when I'm talking about starting fast, I mean like on first down, let's get 5 yards. See, to me, that's starting fast because now you're putting yourself in a position. Now the next 2 downs, you got to get 5 yards. So me
Right,
starting fast is on the first down. You're trying to get 5 to 6 yards, and once you get that, now once you hit that first down, now we can go hurry up. Now let's hurry up. Let's try to get them off guard a little bit because they weren't expecting that first down to come so quick. So now we do a hurry up, exactly what you're talking about, to get into a rhythm as an offense, but put the defense in a bad rhythm. So we definitely have the ability to do that. But when I'm talking starting fast, I want to make sure we're getting good yardage on that first down when we're first possession and we're on the field. You go out there and get 1 yard. To me, that's not starting fast. Now we just put ourselves in a hole because now for the next 2 or 3 downs, we got to figure out how we're going to get these 9 yards. I always say offensively, you got to gain 4 yards of play. If you get 4 yards of play on third down, you get another 4 yards. Now you got a first down. So you want to make
right.
sure you're getting 4 yards of play. So I'm excited when I see a running back or a pass go for 4 or 5 yards because now I know we're starting where we need to start at. So that's what I'm talking about. But exactly what you're saying also. But once we get that first down, let's see if we can get a rhythm now. Let's see if we can get the defense off guard. Let's see if we can go a little faster.
Have you noticed your team talking more in the wake of? I know you said after the game last week, you were perturbed because when you come in the locker room 5 minutes after, you see him smiling. Have you seen a difference in regards to them holding each other accountable,
I
during
have.
whether it's during practice?
I have. It's kind of funny you say that because I've been in the back end, like watching the safeties, because that's been the position that right now that's missed a few too many tackles. But now I see those guys talk to the guys, even the guys that are hurt. They're communicating to the guys that are on the field. Hey man, you got to break it this angle. Hey, you got to break it this. No, it was a bad angle, man. You're gonna miss the tackle that way. So now they're critiquing each other, and no one's taking it personal. Now they understand that they're critiquing their performance. They're trying to help the team. And it goes back to what I told these guys earlier on in the week. What are you doing to help us win? Plain and simple.
Right.
What are you doing to help us win? So all those guys took heed to that. So now even the guys that are hurt, they're still coaching up the guys on the field. Hey man, do it this way. And when the second team guys are in there, the first team guys are behind them and talking about bad angle. Make sure you make this step. Hey man, you got to make the proper check. So all those things are correlating together, and we're coming together pretty daggone good.
I meant to ask you last week when you referred to coming in the locker room after the game. How was your players' response in regards to the way that you received what was happening after a loss?
When I walked into the team meeting on Monday and I discussed it with them, I told them, I said, guys, I do understand that it's not a life or death situation. I do understand we're playing a game. But when you put in the work we put in on that football field, you put in the hours we put in on that football field, and as coaches, we put in those hours, we put in that work, and then come up with an L, it doesn't feel good. So I don't know
Right,
how you're happy and jovial after all that work and it doesn't feel good. Like I said, this week, I think they concentrate on it more. They're correcting each other more. They're critiquing each other more. So I'm thinking it comes out. We'll see at the end of this game how it goes. And I hope it's victorious and everybody's happy so we don't have a problem. But if we come across that situation again, we'll see how they respond to it. But as of right now, I think they're learning from it. Our guys are growing. To be totally honest with you, Pitt, this is probably the first week in a long time I felt like they enjoyed practice. Like they were out there enjoying what was going on because, practice can be rigorous. So it's a
yes.
situation where you want to make sure that's why I always tell guys, you're training to get better. Practicing becomes redundant. But when you're training, you're always training to get better. That's why we had the word, the one wild, which was training that time. We want to make sure our guys understand they got to train in order to get better. I feel like they trained this week.
When it comes to, I know, after the Howard game, that following week of practice, it was not a quiet practice, but it was. I don't want to hear, the going back and forth, the trash talking. Is that still in effect in regards to practice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they're not doing it. That's the thing about it. But I think because they're not doing it, now they're concentrating on what they need to do and they're correcting their teammates in that position. So no one's upset that the first team guy didn't do it and now I need to be in there. Why am I not on the field? Now they're understanding we're coming together as a team. So instead of diverting our attention to the offense as a defensive player. We're worried more about what's going on defense. We're trying to make sure we're capitalizing on the things that need to be capitalized on defense.
Not tipping your hand or your scheme for this week against Bryant. But what are some of the things that you would like to see a team capitalize on that Bryant may not do so well with?
Well, the thing that's going to be, I'll be totally honest with you, Bryant has one of the better defensive lines, especially the interior guys, the defensive tackles that I've seen in a while. So we can handle those guys. I think we're going to be pretty good. I mean, they got a pretty good daggum set of defensive linemen. So we can block up front and control the line of scrimmage. I think we can be pretty doggone good. And not so much, I'm not just talking about the run aspect of it. I'm also talking about keeping them out of the quarterbacks first so we can deliver some short passes and some precise passes and things like that. So, and they have two daggum corners that run pretty good, got pretty good speed. So we want to make sure we put ourselves in position to complete some passes early, some short passes and things like that, but also keeping that defensive line at bay. So we're able to do that. I think we're going to be in a pretty good position, Coach.
How has push and pull been inserted into practices?
Well, push and pull is always a part of our dynamic. Whenever we're on the field, like you asked me earlier, when they're not talking to each other. So now they're pushing and pulling each other on defense to make sure you're aligned properly, putting where you're supposed to be at. We're pushing you to become a better player. Now, when you're not doing what you're supposed to do, hey, we're going to pull you back a little bit. We're going to do it this way. Same thing on offense. When you talked about a scout team guy earlier, he's pushing that offensive lineman to pick it up a little bit. Let's get it going. You weren't getting it going. So I'm going to pull you away from not getting it going, and I'm going to push you towards getting it better. And instead of him getting upset now he's pushing himself to get better. He's pushing himself to block that guy on scout team to make sure, hey, if I can dominate this guy and he's pushing me this way, maybe I'll be able to dominate the guy going on in the game. If the guy's not giving him a good look, now it's time to pull him back towards, let me beat him up a little bit and see if he starts protecting himself and see if he starts playing better or is he going to get upset. So push and pull is always an effect. And also it's an effect with us as coaches. You know, I'm constantly pushing the assistant coaches, hey, you don't need to talk to them this way. Let's talk to them this way. Let's make sure they're getting the information as opposed to demeaning them. Let's make sure, we're demanding from them, not so much demeaning, but demanding from them and making them understand that this is what we need in order to be a better team. Do it a different way. You don't have to do it that way all the time. You can do it this way. So let's switch it up a little bit. So I'm always pushing the coaches to change how they coach because it goes back to what we said. You're not going to change who you are as a person. I don't want no coach to ever change who he is as a person, but sometimes you have a different way of reaching different players. You can't coach everybody the same, fair but equal, which is what we talk about. So I'm constantly pushing it, and they're constantly pushing me. I'm also constantly out of my comfort zone, making sure, like I told you, I've never been a type of coach who's had a conversation with everybody every day. I didn't have team meetings every day. Well, I'm at the point right now where I got to make sure I find the pulse of our team. So every day I've been meeting with them and talking to them about different things and different connections about what's going on. But I think that's important because it's pushing me to find out exactly where the pulse is so I can pull them back to where we need to be at so we can win some football games.
How is your team at this point from a health standpoint?
That's a tough. The first game against Air Force, we lost our starting offensive lineman named Hayden Barron. He's been starting for us since he was a true freshman. We lost our starting quarterback. We lost our starting Mike linebacker, but he came back from his thumb injury. He's been able to play when they put a cast on us. He's been able to play there. We've lost our starting center. Our tight end is banged up a little bit. Who else did we lose that's extremely valuable to us? Got some guys a little sore here, a little sore there. Lost our starting outside linebacker. Our starting will linebacker. We're just getting him back this week. We lost him for the last 3 weeks. So the bug has hit us pretty daggone bad when it comes to guys getting hurt. So it's a situation where guys are coming out of it. We've only had a few injuries that have cost us with our starting offensive guard and our starting defensive end. Both of them had injuries. I always tell people there's a difference between being hurt and the viewers. There's a difference between being hurt and being injured. When you're injured, you can't go anymore. When you're hurt, everybody's hurt. Let's figure out how we can work around being hurt. Let's get better. So we got some guys that have been hurt, but we had some guys that have been injured. Those injuries, unfortunately, injuries have come at a bad time. So,
can you talk about the importance of, as we hear Mike Tomlin said all the time, next man up. And even though that is so, it does break the chemistry a little bit whenever you have someone that you're not used to, playing next to. They don't know, your strengths, or they don't have that cadence of understanding. Okay, when you do this, I understand I'm supposed to. Can you talk about how that change in chemistry also can affect the dynamics of your team?
Well, the one place that has hurt us really, to be honest with you, is with our center. With our center going down. Now, the guy that's went in there, he's done a good job. He's played hard. But when you're dealing with a center calls out the defensive line. If it's a 4-man front or a 3-man front. The center calls out who's the Mike linebacker, who's the middle linebacker, who's the outside linebacker, who he thinks blitzing. The center may direct you where your blocking protection's coming from.
Right.
So when you lose him, now you got another guy in there. Now the offensive line's hearing a different voice. They're not hearing the voice they heard before. The voice may not be loud enough. The voice may not be forceful enough. So all those things play into effect. And it's probably affected our offensive line more than anything else. They've done a good job, but at the same time, that next man up has to understand what his responsibility as a center is, and has to understand that your role has become significantly higher than it was when you were a second-team center. Now that you're a first-team center, you got to open up your mouth. There's things you got to say. So it's affected that in a big way. But at the same time, I think our guys have managed to come back to it. And the young man he's playing back into himself. He's starting to play well. And we're about to get our starting center back. If not this week, definitely next week. Within 2 weeks, because we got a bye next week. So within 2 weeks, he'll be back. But again, the young man's done the best he can. But that's probably the hardest part, with exactly what you're talking about, and to lose your starting quarterback. So you lost
Right.
your center, who's a mouthpiece, and you lost your starting quarterback in the first game. So you got two different guys that do all the communicating, and they're no longer there anymore. And then when you get your quarterback adequately up to speed on what's going on with the center, then you lose the center. So now you got to work with a new center. So we lost the two biggest pieces, because you look down the center of the field, people always talk about, you got the quarterback, you got the center, you got the middle linebacker, you got the safety. Those are the
Yes.
most important positions, because those are the guys that are making checks on the field.
Yep. When it pertains to play calling, are your coordinators on the field, or are they in the box? And what is
Both.
the advantage of being on the field or in the box?
I can only speak for myself. When I was a defensive coordinator, I always wanted to be on the field. And the reason I wanted to be on the field is because I wanted to be able to get my hands on them, just in case I needed to get my hands on the players. And I wanted to look into the eyes and see what they were talking about. So our defense coordinator is the same way. So he's on the sideline. He wants to do it that way. Our offensive coordinator is always on the sideline. Some offensive coordinators like to be in the box because they like to see the defense. They like to change things up once they see the flow of the defense. Coach Firm's different. He wants to be on the sideline. He wants to be able to make the checks, but he stands behind the offense and see what the quarterback's kind of seeing, and it puts him in a better light. So he does it that way. So both of our guys are on the field, and they have a reason why they want to be there. I'm not opposed to a coordinator going in the box or a coordinator staying on the field. It just depends on what his comfort zone is. Some coaches like for their coordinators to be in the box. I'm not one of those coaches.
As a head coach, when you're uh, when you're coaching other coaches, or not coaching, but or when you're talking up with other coaches, how important is it for a coach to establish more than a business relationship with another coach, whether it's a coordinator, an assistant coach, special teams, etc.? Does Because when it comes to performance, uh, it becomes hard. I've noticed for some coaches, just watching from afar, that when you establish a relationship, and if that particular part of the ball is underperforming, it makes it hard to make a business decision. How do you separate business from personal friendships in regards to the business side of football?
For me, to be totally honest with you, because I've been places where I've been fired before by people that I know and people I'm close. To me, you got to understand it's a business-based situation. It's about performance. It has nothing to do. It's nothing personal. And I'm constantly telling the coaches, it's nothing. Don't take this personal. This is not a personal situation. But at the same time, I think you have to develop a relationship with someone, because and I know, and I've been said 1,000 times by 100 different people, or 1,000 different people, that they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So coaches want to know that you care about them and let them know they're doing a good job and not doing a good job, whatever the situation may be. And I think I've established a relationship enough with my coaches to where if it's a business decision, I have to let you go. You see your body of work. If you're watching your body of work as a coach and you're looking at it and it's not up to par to where it needs to be at, then you should know it's a performance situation. Some guys may take it personal, but I'm not one of those guys. Whenever I do it, it's strictly professional and it's strictly about your performance. Even if I let a young man go, it's never personal. when a young man comes that he's constantly doing something he's not supposed to be doing, and he's reached the point where I'm like, it's time to let you go. This is personal. This is not personal. I'm sorry. This is strictly performance. This is business. Don't take this personal. We can still have a conversation. I'll still help you get to another school. You just can't be here. Same thing with a coach. There's some coaches that have left here. There's some coaches I've helped leave here. It's a situation where I still have a relationship with them because it's not personal.
How important is it that let me switch this. Have you ever had to bench a player that in mid game?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's been situations where you've had to bench a player in mid game, but that's because he's not performing. And again, that's what it boils down to. And it gets to a point where sometimes he's not performing, and then he doesn't want to listen on the sideline. Then you can't communicate with that guy. If you can't have a communication, a dialogue with him in order to improve his play on the field, then he has to be benched. Now, if he cools down and everything's okay, now you can talk to him. But if he hasn't cooled down, he doesn't understand that, look, I'm trying to correct you. If you're not going to take correction, you're not going to take coaching, then I need to sit you down. I need to put somebody out there who understands what I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to make adjustments to win the football game. So, no, there's no doubt. There's been situations we pulled guys out of the game and they've been upset and they've been belligerent and whatever the situation may be. And I've told them, hey, calm down, relax. You get back in, but you got to listen right now. So, again, it goes back to performance. As long as guys know this is a performance-based business and everything that we talk about is based on performance, as long as guys don't take things personal, I think we're good.
Your travels to Bryant, you guys leave today?
Yes.
Okay.
Heading out today. It's probably about a 9-hour drive, so we're going to leave today as opposed to trying to leave tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to leave today. We're going to stop at Scranton, PA, stay overnight there, and then we're going to hop back on the road again tomorrow and finish up the trip. So we're going to make it a 2-day trip. You want to do 9 hours in one day. Guys are tired. You get there late at night, and then you have meetings and a bunch of other stuff, and it just takes too long. So we're going to leave today.
And where's Bryant?
It's in Rhode Island. It's up in Rhode Island, New York. I think that's where it is. Don't start me lying. Somebody gonna Google it and say I was wrong.
Right.
It could be Long Island. I don't know.
Fact checkers.
I know it's 9 hours away from us. That's what I know.
So last year, that was the game that I did attend when you guys played Bryant towards the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Very cold game. Has Bryant had large turnover or a high turnover of players from whom they had last year? And does that play a part in knowing that you faced this opponent before, that it gives you some type of identity of who they are?
Well, the good thing about it, they were in the old conference that we were in. So we played them since I've been here. We had an opportunity to play Bryant. They've been in the NEC. We were in the NEC. So we played them earlier since I've been here. The thing that they've done a good job of is they've done a good job of recruiting and going into the transfer portal. They have a quarterback that's returning who was all conference last year. So it's a situation where the guy's done a good job. He's been there. He's done some good things. They turned over the offensive line a little bit, and they turned over the defensive line. I know they lost the defensive lineman to Florida International University, so he went up to FBS. So they've had some turnovers, some things. But Coach Merritt, him and I go way back. He used to be the head coach at Columbus High School down in Florida, down in Miami, Florida, Columbus High School. So it goes back to my way back to my recruiting day. So I know him real well. And I know he's going to be ready to have those guys prepared to play. And the thing those guys do well is they play 4 quarters. I mean, they've only had 2 victories also, but they've been in every game that they've played in. I mean, unto the wire. I mean, they played Bryant, and Bryant went down like the last 59. I mean, Brown University went down like the last 59 seconds and scored them. So every game they've been in since they've been in. So I know it's going to be a tough battle because he's going to have those guys ready to play for 60 minutes plus.
It's here. It's game days approaching. You guys take a 2-day travel to Bryant. I'm praying for safe travels, Coach. Let's go 1-0. Anything else you want to share out there? Is there a way that we can watch it?
I think it's going to be live stream. Most of our games, I don't know if it's ESPN 100 or ESPN 2. I don't know which one it's on, but most of our games are live stream on ESPN because we have a contract with ESPN. So nowadays, I don't know many games that aren't, to be totally honest with you. If you go ESPN, one of them, it's streamed somewhere. But I know most of our games. I know last week our game was streamed also. So it's a situation. My mom's been able to watch the game. She's like, I watched the game, baby. So I know she's watching it. And I know she don't have a computer. Someone's setting it up for her. I know that for a fact. So it's one of them situations where it's somewhere on there.
Awesome. So those that can't make that trip to Bryant, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, you can always stream it online. Coach, good luck this Saturday. We'll be speaking with you again for execution. Just going into the preparation of travels and the team's attitude on that morning. Thank you very much. Let's go 1-0, Coach.
Ain't no doubt. Let's get it done. Let's go, Bobby Moe.
It's your boy Pitts on Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio, Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV coming to you. It's here. See you Saturday.